The debates are coming up. Jill Stein, Gary Johnson are not going to be in those debates. We've talked a lot about Jill Stein, but I want to go through some of her policy positions. I'm sure you guys have looked up, you've read up on these things, but I think it's important to tell you more specifically about the nitty gritty of her policy. I'm going to start with her student loan forgiveness policy, which I think is, if Jill Stein had the money to really promote, if the media actually covered her, I don't know if it would help her compete, but I do think she would get a hell of a lot of votes because there's millions and millions and millions of young people buried in student loan debt or who are about to be buried in student loan debt when they go to college. So I want to tell you what Jill Stein's plan is for student loan. I'll read you some of her website. Okay, so she calls education a right. Bernie Sanders called healthcare a right. Jill Stein calls education a right. She says guarantee tuition-free, world-class public education from preschool through university. So she's basically saying we have tuition-free, for the most part, public elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. Extend that to public colleges, which is what Bernie Sanders said. Protect our public schools from privatization. We have the charter school push and all this. She's saying no. We don't want to privatize our education system. Use restorative justice to address conflicts before they occur and involve students in the process. That's a little abstract. I don't really know what that means. Evaluate teacher performance through assessment by fellow professionals. Do not rely on high-stakes tests that reflect economic status of the community and punish teachers working in low-income communities of color. This is very true. I mean, anecdotally, I know a lot of teachers that I'm friendly with that are under such stress because they're measured more by the test scores rather than how much are the students actually learning. And you could have the best teacher in the world, but unfortunately, if it's only measured by tests, not every student comes from a good family where both of their parents can help them with their homework, and there's not other things going on that are detracting them from learning. So not judging teachers just on tests is a good policy. Stop denying students diplomas based on high stakes testing. That goes into what I just said. Stop using merit pay to punish teachers who work with the most challenging student populations. Restore arts, music, and recreation to school curriculums. That's very important. When you started seeing the public sector jobs cut, teachers cut after the 2008-2009 crash, not only were teachers cut, but the arts, music, all these things are the first programs to go. Ensure racially inclusive, sensitive, and relevant curriculums. I think she's basically saying African American history, Latinos. It's not just American history. Put it all in a bowl. Use Department of Education powers to offer grants and funding to encourage metropolitan desegregation plans based on socio-economically balanced schools. So, again, I think she's talking about let's promote diversity. Let's not have segregation. She said, recognize poverty as the key obstacle to learning. Ensure that kids come to school ready to learn, healthy, nourished, secure, and free from violence. I mean, this is scientifically proven. If you're a hungry child or you're not well nutritioned, your brain is starved, and thus you're not going to learn as well. Increase federal funding of public schools to equalize public school funding. So that's some of the bullets. Let me read for you some more specifics on her plan to forgive all student loan debt, which I love. Stein said, to the detractors in an interview with ontheissues.org, she was asked, young people are saddled with incredible college debt. You've proposed abolishing this debt. How would you pay for that, and is it really possible? Stein said, it's not only possible, it's essential. If we found a way to bail out the crooks on Wall Street who crashed the economy through waste, fraud, and abuse, we could certainly find a way to help students who are some of the chief victims of that crash. We bailed out Wall Street to the tune of $17 trillion when you include the no-interest loans and the straight-up bailouts they received. The good news is the student debt is tiny by comparison, only $1.3 trillion. And we have the power to make this happen. There are 43 million young and not so young people burdened with predatory student loan debt. That turns out to be a winning plurality of a presidential vote, especially if all those students bring out a family member or two. Students are leading the charge to fix this crisis. Cancel college debt. It's now $35,000 per student. She goes on. Another travesty we could fix with the stroke of a pen is the crisis of student debt. Currently 43 million current and former students are locked in debt that they can't repay in the low-wage economy. which is here for the foreseeable future. It's unconscious to allow our younger generations to be the victims of this predatory debt. Average debt for the class of 2015 is over $35,000 per student, and 70% of students are affected. It's time to bring them back from debt servitude so they can be full participants in our society. It's time to simply cancel the debt, as was done for the Wall Street criminals whose waste, fraud, and abuse crashed the economy. We owe our students, the victim of that crash, at least as much. The bailout for students can be accomplished through quantitative easing. It's the finance tool used to bail out the banks. This would be a huge stimulus for the economy as young people are enabled to follow their dreams and reimagine our future, as every new generation must. And the next one is make public college education free. It pays for itself by a seven-fold margin, as we saw the GI Bill following World War II. And it's the right thing to do. So there's no debate on the merits of this plan. I'm for it. I think it would have a humongous economic stimulus. I mean, you just talk about giving unemployment insurance to people without a job, welfare. People spend the money right away because it's survival. Students. I had student loan debts, not all 4 years, but I had about a year and a half that I had to pay. I spent no money while I was paying that off. I'm just about done. So if you have millions of students that are not spending money in the economy, and this is the time that they can spend more money because they don't have kids, or for the most part. They're not spending most of their money in the productive economy. Many of them are not really pursuing, advanced degrees or the jobs in their actual industry because they just need to make consistent money now, so they're going to take whatever they can get. So forgiving this would be a huge plus to the economy. The problem is if they call Bernie Sanders pie in the sky, they're going to call her an alien from Mars. For the know-it-alls in Congress and the lawmakers, it's unthinkable. We can't let the banks fail. The economy will fall down by Monday. That's what Ben Bernanke, the Federal Reserve Chair, said. But for the students, well, they made an agreement, and it's unfortunate. We have to do something about, skyrocketing college costs, but it is what it is. So for the banks and for the rich people, life can't go on if they go down. For the students, that's your shit out of luck. So I think when we live in a government with that philosophy and those priorities, it's not the most realistic thing if Jill Stein became president to get this done. Frankly, if she had a Democratic House and Senate, I don't know if she can get it done. Because I don't know if corporate Democrats would be down for this. Because you know who corporate Democrats get their money from? Wall Street. And you know who Wall Street has a lot to do with these student loans because they're picking up packages of these student loans just like they did the banks. You can read up on that, the student loan bubble being close to burst. So as much as I like her plan, is it realistic? I'm not sure. But again, if she got more media attention for this, if there was even a discussion on the merits of this, she went on Fox Business with Maria Bartiromo, who used to be with CNBC, is a corporate news anchor, never thinks Wall Street has never done wrong in her eyes, and looked at Jill Stein like she had four eyes. And basically, when Jill Stein countered about the banks, people like Maria Bartiromo don't understand.
This is a personal responsibility. If you want to go to a certain college, if the choices that you make, why should the government be in the business of giving out college, health care, all of this free stuff? Is that your position on the economy? Government?
It's not government. We, as a society, are part of creating a world we can live in. Right now, young people have become the latest cash cow in a predatory economy. And what have they been deprived of? The ability to get an education, the ability to get a job, and the ability to have a climate in which they can live in the future.
They, doesn't understand, well, why is it okay to do it? It's okay for the banks, but not the students. It's like they're not even on the same wavelength to people like Maria Bartiromo. So I think it would be a tough push for someone like Jill Stein to get that done. But in a hypothetical world, I think if she had the media coverage, if media didn't cover third parties, candidates like, side puppets, I think at least the discussion could get out there. And at least you'd have more professionals and experts in the field that would be able to support her, Jill Stein's thesis, because there's not a lot to argue behind it. It doesn't help the economy to have millions of people enslaved to debt. through no fault of their own. Like Bernie said, you shouldn't be punished for trying to educate yourself. So that's her plan for student loan forgiveness. Again, whether it could actually get through is another question. But I do think, I'd rather, to me, I'm always down with fighting for someone that actually, whether it's realistic or not, I want to back the person who has is in the right corner and has the right policies, rather than back someone who's going to tweak around the edges, and pretty much the main meal will stay the same.